Hi dear friends, we are here with another episode of Miner Repair Tutorials. In this video we are going to talk about the Antminer T17 Hashboard. As you know, the problems and solutions in electronics are not limited to one or two cases, and here we are just going to discuss the problem we're facing here. But this is not the case every time. You may face other problems too. Equipment needed for this repair are 80 MHz oscilloscope, which is solder a needle to the POB's point to be able to measure the test points between heat sinks. Next one is an APW9 Antminer power supply, which is used on S17 or T17 devices. I need a hashboard tester. Needless to say, unlike a control board, which needs to be initialized to send a reset signal to the hashboard, the test fixture does that immediately after pressing the test button, and this speeds up the test process and the faulty chip could be detected faster. I also need a multimeter and a fan that in case the hashboard starts to work, the ASICs will heat up and may burn, so I need to cool them down. One thing I should mention about the test fixture is that for the S9 series, which uses a 12 volts power supply, you don't need any extra connection between the test fixture and power supply. But when testing higher models of Antminer hashboards, the exact output voltage of power supply is determined by test fixture, and in addition to the main wires, you need to connect the data cable, 4-pin data cable, between the test fixture and the power supply. We also need to connect the hashboard's data cable and the USB to serial adapter cable. Okay, I start the process by turning on the power supply. As we see on this screen, the test fixture is loading fast to get ready. Actually, for a detailed demonstration of the output data, I recorded the screen of my laptop to show the data sent to the serial port, which is a lot more comprehensive and more complete than what's shown on LCD of the test fixture. I'm waiting for the tester to get ready and show me the line which is written ready begin test. Well, here it comes. Let's press the test button. The signals are being sent and may stop in the faulty chip, which here it detects 15 ASICs, and probably the ASIC number 16 may be faulty, but be careful. We have to measure some parameters first to locate the problem exactly. We count to reach the chip number 15. I'm measuring the clock signal before chip number 15. Okay, we see here that the clock signal is okay and the amplitude of oscillation is approximately 1.8 volts triangle wave. Now I measure the test point after chip number 15 and press the test button again. I'm waiting for the reset signal. Okay, we see that after the chip number 15 we have the clock signal as well. Now I pass on to the chip number 16. I again press the test button. This is the clock test point after chip number 16. Okay, pay attention to the amplitude, which has diminished significantly, which means we don't have a proper clock signal here. For making sure I repeat the test, the signal shape is a monitor out of the screen, so I'll repeat the test again, but it's obvious here that the clock signal is absent after chip number 16, but before that I had the signal, so I marked the chip. I'll replace the chip and test it again. Actually, it's not the case every time. You may have problems with, from other parts of the board, but here we are trying with this. Here you see I'm holding the heat gun from the beneath, and lower heatsink absorbs the heat and concentrates it to the lower surface of the chip, and it starts to melt and float on the solder, so you can move and remove it. I put back the heatsink. After replacing the specified chip, I'm going to repeat the test to see if the problem is solved or not. I press the test button. Okay, you see that the hashboard has started to work, and I have to put the fan on it to cool it down. I want to show the signal situation after the last chip, which is 30. Here you see we have the clock signal here, which is quite okay. Next one is CI signal, which is okay as well. BZ output and reset signals are alright too. RI signal should be measured from the first chip. I have to adjust the offset. I had to increase it. Let me increase it. Here, you see the RI signal is okay too. Here, you see the three parameters, temperature, sensor, and pattern are all okay, and the non-straight of the dashboard is more than 98%. Non-straight is a parameter of ideal performance of the dashboard, and when it's more than 90%, it's considered as okay, and most of the time it will work on the device unless there's another faulty chip that hasn't shown up here in our test. Here you see all voltages and domains are okay too. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, and I wanted to thank you for your precious time. I really appreciate it if you follow and subscribe to us on our Instagram and YouTube channel. Thank you very much.